What up? What up?
We are live.
That's nice.
We are live. We are live. We are live. Hey,
Yeah.
I'm going to cut to a video and it's really important, okay? Because we're all going to die.
All right.
Yeah.
Fluctuate much more dramatically. It's not even a question. They will have literally no power to do that except for those who are holding their currency. So if I have a cryptocurrency, it's outside the system. There's no controls by the government.
And Zhujiang, can you give me the worst scenario? What kind of a systemic shock it will give to the current financial system is if Bitcoin is widely used in China or the rest of the world?
Well, if Bitcoin will become the ultimate type of a form of the currency then adopted by human society, I can tell you exactly what's going to happen as the worst scenario or the must scenario. We're all going to die. This is not a joke.
Why do you say that?
We're going to die.
Yes, Bitcoin has a very, very strict and limited number, the total number. So which means this is a deflation currency, which means the currency would not grow its amount alongside with the growth of human economic development. That means we're going to see our society going on the death spiral of deflation, and the business sector will withdraw, and we're going to see people's jobs are going to be wither away, and then whole society is going to shrink and then self-explode. That's what happened in the end of the Ming Dynasty when they're short of the silver, and also happened in
Right, Max. Are you ready to die?
Oh, yeah. This video is making the rounds. So it's correct. Bitcoin is outside the system. And if you're living in one of these Asian economies, you're going to freak out because the Asian economies are mostly very, very strictly top down. And so a decentralized money that cannot be confiscated is going to really freak them out, as it should. And it's an existential crisis to China and other countries. All nation states, all central banks are going to be disintermediated by Bitcoin. So it's great to see they're starting to freak out. I think the level now of the freak out is going to increase. We see it in the West as well. We see it in the New York Times. We see it on CNN. We see it on CNBC. Those that have been enjoying the fiat money pyramid scheme for so long. Nassim Taleb recently had a nervous breakdown, a public nervous breakdown. It's an ongoing process, but that's what Bitcoin does.
Right. In fact, this episode is called Microdosing: The Fragility of Nassim Taleb. I might change it to orange highlight and in green text. I don't know if you're able to see it. On the screen here it looks crisp, but I'm not sure about on the YouTube itself. So yeah, we're all going to die. Of course, this is getting more and more extreme, all the FUD against Bitcoin. But, the point is, look at the fiat system that we have in terms of we are all going to die. Not only has it caused overconsumption and ecological destruction, the fiat system, it's caused mass wars, nonstop wars. It's caused opioid overdoses in the tens of thousands every year inside America. So in terms of like who exactly is he talking about we are all going to die if Bitcoin is the standard?
Right. The statists are all going to be gone. The thing about Bitcoin is that it's designed to attract attacks, right? That's part of the game theory that's built into the protocol. So we've seen that all the way going back to Mike Hearn days, in the early years. He attacked it. He lost. The New York Agreement attacked it. They lost. The people that are attacking Bitcoin because of its energy use, that's predictable. It's silly that you see editorials in Bitcoin periodicals like CoinDesk saying, "Oh, we need to appease the eco justice warriors and try to make Bitcoin more palatable for them," which is false. They'll never be appeased. They're just there to be obstructionists, and they're there. They represent the fiat money cartel. They're liars and they're scoundrels, and it's FUD. And Bitcoin doesn't really pay any attention. So it's designed to attract attacks. And so if the nation of China wants to attack Bitcoin, that's great because security goes up, hash goes up, price goes up. We need the biggest possible attackers we can find, and apparently even now aliens are showing up. Hopefully they will also
Exactly.
attack Bitcoin.
Let's come on, try to get it. Try to get it, aliens. Right. So smash the like button. Okay. And then we're going to go into Nassim Taleb. And I see there's lots of comments. I'm glad you're here. Is it Memorial Day today or is it Monday? It's supposed to be Monday, right? It used to be on the 30th. I know because that's my grandfather's birthday, and his birthday was on Memorial Day. But then they changed it to the final Monday of every I don't know. Like, I don't know how it goes, but
I've
it's
lost track because I haven't had a 9 to 5 job in 30 years. And usually we know when you step out of that world, you lose track of some of these holidays.
yeah. Or school. I remember school holidays. So smash the like. I'm like editor mode all the time. So I see like there's a little bit more room on my side than yours. So I have to fix that. I have to center it just that slightly a bit more. So I'm going to do that. And while I do that, you smash the likes, right? You see that? You see what a genius I am in terms of framing my screen, right? Max doesn't look totally convinced about it. But yeah, who is ready for Miami? I am so ready. I'm packed, ready to go. I can't believe we have to wait another day or two to go.
Yeah.
Because, I want to go now.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I think we're leaving on Tuesday. It's coming up on Tuesday, and it's a short flight for us down to Miami.
Yeah.
And so it's, the anticipation is running high. I know that. It's going to be 12,000 tickets have been sold. It's the biggest Bitcoin event ever. And this is just I think going to be big. They're doing a drawing for a Lamborghini, so you've got a 1 in 12,000 chance to win a Lamborghini. I'm pretty sure one of us is going to win this Lamborghini.
Yeah, somebody from the Orangeville podcast, Max, I have to say, surprisingly, really wants to win this Lamborghini. Like that's all he's talking about. So I didn't really picture you as a Lamborghini guy, especially since you don't even have a driver's license.
Right.
But
No, I don't like to drive, but I like cars as an objet d'art. I like the way they look. I don't drive. I don't have a driver's license, and I don't like driving, and I hate being in a car on the road. It just seems like the antithesis of human achievement. But nevertheless, they look cool, and I could turn it into a planter or something. I could hollow out the engine and all the guts and put plants in there. And there would be a nice lawn or ornament.
I think at the Indy 500, we have a Bitcoin car there, right?
Yes.
Jack Mahler's is there.
Yeah, it's doing well. Last I checked, it's in the top 3 or 4, I think.
Oh, yeah. And I saw Jessica Vaughn is there.
Yeah. Jessica Vaughn is there. Lots of folks are there. It's a pretty exciting time right now at the Indy 500, the Bitcoin 21 car. And it's doing well, I think they're on lap 90 out of 200.
Well, Max is always talking about how he has the best legs in Bitcoin. But there was a photo Jessica posted on top of an Indy car showing her ass.
Right.
And I thought maybe she has the best ass in Bitcoin.
I haven't seen the photo. I'd have to check it out. It's possible, but doubtful.
All right. Are you saying you might have it?
I'd have to see it. I mean, we'll see how that goes. I think she'll be at the event. Maybe we'll have an ass off.
An ass off.
Yeah. See who's got the best ass, me or Jessica Paul.
Well, why don't you, in the comment section, go look over at Jessica Vaughn's Twitter handle, look at the photos, and then imagine, like, if you think Max's ass is better or Jessica's.
Yeah. We'll see. We'll see who wins the ass off. Me or Jessica Vaughn. We'll see.
Speaking of asses, let's talk about Nassim Taleb.
Yeah, let's do it.
Because, I was actually in a state of shock for about 3 days. Like, I couldn't believe, I couldn't believe it was real. I thought you know how Bitcoin has all these meme artists and artists and trolls and stuff like that. So when there was a photo of a CoinGeek BSV conference and they had a photo of Nassim Taleb up there right next to Craig Wright, like I thought it was just Photoshop, right? I thought it was a joke. But no, it's it's real. And Nassim Taleb is speaking at a BSV conference. And I didn't really say anything for 3 days because I was just like in disbelief that he had gone this far into, like, lost himself in hate and hubris. So then today he tweeted, and it confirmed our suspicion about what's actually going on. He said, I have no objective legal information about Craig Wright, only that I was warned that my participation there would trigger some emotions on the part of people I despise. This is like, Max, you studied Greek tragedies, right, at university at NYU. This is the classic setup for a Greek tragedy. This guy is always like talking about how he's such a not an idiot. Like, he always has that IYI, intellectual yet idiot. And he's like distinguishes himself or he claims not to be one of these people. And yet here he is being an idiot, not even knowing all the stuff he's always talking about, including Greek tragedies.
Right. It's fate, which is a theme in Greek literature, Greek theater. He was fated to crash his reputation in a matter of 2 weeks. And a reputation that took a while to build up. He wrote some books, very popular books. He was a bit of a troll on Twitter and, going after academics, publicly going after academics and making caustic comments and things like that. And, Twitter, Bitcoin Twitter was kind of rooting him on because they like that attitude, that freshness on Twitter. Then he got into a spat with Safedina Moose. He wrote the foreword to the Bitcoin Standard. And then they got into a public spat over COVID-19 and what the protocol should be about COVID-19. And Nassim decided to have a nervous breakdown, or he's having a nervous breakdown on Twitter. And he's throwing his entire reputation under the bus and aligning himself with, these are known scammers. I mean, he didn't do any due diligence on Bitcoin, right? He doesn't know anything about it. He didn't do any due diligence about BSV or CoinGeek or Craig Wright. He hasn't done any. He's kind of like the new Ronnie Moaz, I would say, is Nassim Taleb. He's just walking into a buzzsaw of shit and expecting to come out clean on the other side. I mean, this is really an amazing climb down for somebody who did have a fairly decent reputation as of even just 2 or 3 months ago. And now he's just become a piñata for the online crowd, a bit of a punching bag. And he keeps doubling down by, digging this hole deeper. And as is always the case, anyone who's ever been associated with the Bitcoin Satoshi Vision project immediately just completely goes off the radar in terms of seriousness. I mean, they just become a clown fest over there. So it is shocking because we met him at Kilkenomics a few years ago in Kilkenny in Ireland, and I interviewed him once. We kind of been talking a little bit because he lives in Larchmont, New York, which is where I grew up. So we had something to talk about there. We met his wife. She's a nice woman. And he seemed like cognizant that he was two-faced. He had his public face, which was this gruff flaneur, kind of bon vivant, intellectual on the run. But behind the scenes, he was more down to earth, a little bit more plain speaking. But it turns out he genuinely has some kind of need to self-immolation in the public eye. And so, but again, Bitcoin does this to people. It's a mirror. You see who you really are. So when the Bitcoin mirror was held up to Nassim, it exposed someone very, very vacant, unsadly.
Well, let's look at 2 words here that I have the definition that I got from Google that made me think of the position he's put himself into. And you see this over and over: for thousands of years of human history. It happens over and over. He's no exception. His fragility is no exception. Hubris, right? Excessive pride or self-confidence. In Greek tragedy, excessive pride toward or defiance of the gods leading to nemesis. Nemesis, a downfall caused by an inescapable agent. One risks nemesis by uttering such words: the undoing, ruin, ruination, destruction. So his nemesis is his ego, his
Right.
pride.
Mhm.
And his pride was wounded. Like he felt like that he gave this foreword to Saifedean Ammous, and that Saifedean should abide by his superior knowledge, that he knows more about COVID and protocols and blah, blah, blah. So his pride couldn't stand it. You know, I can't help, of course, also note that they both lived in Beirut for a long time. Saifedean is Palestinian. Nassim is, I guess, Christian Arab, Lebanese. So there are many squabbles in the tight, packed region.
Many layers to this.
Many layers that go back thousands of years. So who knows? Obviously, however, it seems as an observer. I mean, obviously, we're friends with Saifedean, but it seems like the hubris is all on the side of Nassim, who has perhaps too high of a regard for his own self.
Right. He's his own nemesis, and it's an interesting quote there, because he says he was warned that he would be attacked by this foolish act.
Yeah.
And but he did it anyway. So, that's a trope, in horror films, right? The girl is told, "Don't go in that house because there's a very bad thing there." But for some reason she's like, "Oh, that's okay. I'll be fine." And the foreshadowing is there. So the foreshadowing was in this tragedy. He was told, Nassim was told, if you do this, your reputation's going to go to shit. But he was like, no, I'm going to do it anyway, because I'm fated by the gods to blow up my reputation in public. So it is, it's an amazing thing about Bitcoin. I think Jimmy Song tweeted that this is the most swift and brutal, climb down of somebody that he's seen since Trace Mayer, right? So Trace Mayer in February of last year was really one of the top 2 names in Bitcoin. And then he went to the Unconfiscatable conference and tried to push a shitcoin. Excuse me. And he disappeared off of the public web within 3 hours. He hasn't been heard from again.
And of course, a lot of people do note that Trace Mayer, at least, like, he wrote a book on how to disappear, right? So they're saying that this could be like his Kaiser Soze, like that was his plan to disappear, and no Bitcoiner ever wanting to contact him and invite him to conferences or anything like that. So it could have been his, at least in his defense, that could have been his brilliant way of disappearing.
Right. Why have a boating accident when you can just disappear?
When you could just push Mimble or some shitcoin and like everybody never want to hear from you again.
Right.
And then there was another thing I was going to say, and I totally forgot. But yeah, Nassim Taleb, like the notion, the thought, like what he thought that he was only doing this because he thought it would trigger the emotions on part of people I despise. And look at like so much that's gone wrong at the end of Empire days in the US. Like we talk about this in what we observe, especially in the cable news or the think tanks, elite media, Beltway sorts, blue check, Twitter, all these, the smug elites, the smug industrial complex, as I call it, where they really, really despise so much the deplorables, hate them so much that they're willing to go to the extent of all the like conspiracy theories they were pushing, all of the authoritarian measures they're pushing of like deplatforming and silencing people. I mean, I think they're smart enough, they're like educated enough to know what they're doing, but they are so overwhelmed by how much they hate the deplorables that they're willing to sacrifice that. So this is the same position that Nassim is in, but the same thing that every single, all of Shakespeare's tragedies, all of the Greek tragedies, this happens over and over. Like, they're not unique. Like, it's not going to end differently this time for Nassim as it
No.
didn't end differently in any of the tragedies throughout history.
Plus, I think he's just plain jealousy, because the Bitcoin Standard is an instant classic, and probably 50 years from now is going to be talked about in a way where the Black Swan and these other books by Nassim Taleb will not be. They'll be forgotten. But people will still be talking about the Bitcoin Standard as the definitive text of Bitcoin's monetary value and history of money. And so it's like Salieri and Mozart. Salieri is the court composer, in the film Amadeus. They reconstruct this whole story. And in walks Mozart, who can play backwards and upside down and run rings around Salieri. And Salieri goes mad. He goes insane. In the end, he just loses his mind. So I think similarly, when the Bitcoin Standard came out, maybe before anyone else, Nassim Taleb realized, oh my God, this is the grand opus book of our century, potentially, and I didn't write it. And he just started to crumble mentally. And then it came out now where he's literally swelling around with the worst elements of society. People that have been Nassim wrote that if you see a fraud and you don't report the fraud, then you're a fraud. So he's going to pal around with people that are it's hard to. I mean, I liken them to Jim Jones of the Guyana mass suicide massacre, the death cult, or David Berkowitz, the son of Sam serial killer. That's who these people are. That Nassim Taleb now thinks he's pals with, and it's the most amazing climb down I've seen in a while since Trace Mayer.
It's a good lesson not to have any heroes. Get ready for your heroes to die, and that's another lesson of Greek tragedy. Now, what else was I going to say about that? Of course, you know what he reminds me of? You know what it reminds me of is that here Nassim is like, this Bitcoiner, Safety and a Moose, hurt my feelings. So I'm going to go to this conference, this fake Bitcoin conference. And it reminds me of once this video is no longer live streaming and it's captured and it's on YouTube, within an hour or two, a bunch of deranged lunatics, they have to write like lunatics. All the imposters of Orange Pill Podcast will show up in the comments responding to every comment. Hey, call me on what /# app phone number, and it's //143 / and it's just like they have to write like that because the algorithm detects their bullshit. And here is the protocol detects the bullshit of all these shit coins, right? And yet the person that calls that WhatsApp number is like, yeah, this really might be Max Kaiser writing like a lunatic for some reason in the comments, asking me to call him on some WhatsApp phone number that you can't hyperlink or anything. You have to type it out and try to figure it out between all the asterisks and slash and forward slash and backslash and all that stuff. So, that's the equivalent of what he's doing. He's deciding. Nassim Taleb is like, I'm going to call that number just to prove they're wrong. Hurt their feelings.
Yeah, exactly. It says on the label, don't drink the poison. But he's like, nah, I'm going to drink it. See what happens. So there's no coming back from this. So
no,
he's now kind of within a year. I mean, no one's going to start quote the anti-fragile or black swan. All these phrases are going to be taken over by new phrases. His work will go into the remainder pile at the bookstore. No one's going to read this garbage. And because he exposed himself as a charlatan who's it was fun while it lasted. I mean, he had a good rap, but now he's gone.
Well, it's not even just like a charlatan. It's just like he's not in control of his emotions. Like, it's funny that he's projecting, really. Like, he says he's doing this because he wanted to trigger the emotions on the part of people I despise. I despise. You're showing like you're the one with emotion. You're the one overwhelmed by emotion. And again, that's the classic setup for any tragedy, great tragedy in history. It's like
Yeah.
the hero, the protagonist, that's the one that's overwhelmed with emotion and makes the fatal error because of that emotion, because of hubris, because of ego, because of pride, because of greed. Something drives them to make the stupid choice, like to call that WhatsApp phone number the equivalent to go to a BSV conference.
Right. Well, we don't know the whole story. There might be some tragedy going on in his personal life that we just don't know about. Somebody might be deathly ill. He might be being held hostage by terrorists at this moment. He might be the Patty Hearst of the 21st century, dressed up by bandits to go rob people in the shitcoin market. We don't know the full story exactly. We might find out, something that comes out at some point, and it would explain more why he's decided to impale himself on his own egotistical, self-maniacal shitcoinery. But until then, we have to assume he's just a moron.
Right. Well, yeah, I see we have over 1,000 people watching live, and which is great because, right now the Bitcoin car is riding around all those left turns as Yellow Pop Cat guy, ICO offender. He was in the chat to say he's not going to be watching live because he's going to go watch the Indy 500. But, a lot of people online, like such as yourselves, are able to watch 3 or 4 or 5, 6 series at a time thing. The Generation Z and the younger millennials, especially, they're able to multitask and watch several programs at the same time.
Well, he's got to be able to meme also.
True.
Because there's the chief meme officer, and as the race unfolds, he has to be able to pop those memes out.
Sure.
Because he's over there at Team Jack.
Team Strike.
And, this is a big situation that they got over there. Last I checked, I think he's in the top 3 in this race. And so they're almost, I think they're halfway through it.
Right. I made this margarita because I'm not going to be able to have margaritas down in Miami. It's all about the mojito down there. But I accidentally, I went to measure the thing for put the tequila in, and it went all over. Just poured a whole bunch in.
Right.
So I messed it up, and it's a little bit bigger than I would have planned on. But you guys can make fun of me when I get drunk. So here is an interesting story. It's also from the Middle East, and it's from Saudi Arabia. And I thought this, I don't know why. I just thought it was funny, and maybe Max, you might have fun with it.
I'm already having fun.
Hey, smash the like button, man. Okay?
Yeah, man.
While I read this,
do it.
Remember, you multitask. You could watch Indy 500. You could listen to us. You could smash the like button.
Yeah.
You can leave some rude comments in there. Here's a good one, Max.
What?
Listen to this.
I am.
Justice in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
The government of Saudi Arabia rules that anybody who predicts climate or weather or atmospheric phenomena will receive a sentence of 10 years in prison and a fine.
I saw that. I still don't really understand it. Can someone explain to me what that's all about? Even the premise of it.
I mean, you live in a freaking desert. It's not like what you don't want anybody to say. I bet you anything. It's going to be dry.
How are they feeling? Threatened by this. How does it threaten the people if some predicts the weather? What's the connection there? It's not like Khashoggi where he's reporting on corruption, so they're going to chop his head off. It's just some guy on Twitter saying, hey, it's going to be dry and hot tomorrow like it has been for the past 1,000 years. You don't need to behead me, bro. I'm not a journalist. I'm just a guy out here in my dhow, going to go, on the boat, in the Gulf. You're going to look for a couple of fish. Don't behead me, bro. I'm not a journalist. I'm just saying it's going to be dry and hot like it's the freaking desert because we're in the desert.
I don't know. I don't know what the big deal is, but it might be, there has to be some story behind it. Or maybe it's just we were talking about the Shakespearean or Greek tragedies, and, some king always goes mad or deranged and they do crazy stuff. And, that could be, this edict could be something that triggers a revolution in Saudi Arabia. It could be the final straw. If you can't if you're not allowed to note the obvious, like it's going to be hot and dry.
Yeah. It's censorship taken to the extremists, taken to ludicrous levels. It shows that the leadership in Saudi Arabia is really scared right now,
Yeah.
and shows they're very, very scared about the possibility of an insurrection and current leadership being toppled, as they should be, because they've really outlived their usefulness. The petrodollar is being dismantled as we speak by Bitcoin. Bitcoin, by dismantling and getting rid of the petrodollar, will save Earth an incredible amount of energy usage per year. All the people that are critical of Bitcoin's energy usage are supportive of the petrodollar. So, like Nassim Taleb would say, I love the petrodollar, but I hate Bitcoin, because he speaks out of both sides of his asshole. He doesn't know, if he got hit in the face with a frying pan, he wouldn't know, the truth from being, butt raped by two French plumbers. The guy is, without doubt, one of the shameless, opportunistic charlatans and overrated philosophers in the last 50 years, bar none. I mean, put him against someone like Marshall McLuhan, who actually wrote important things from an academic perspective that really changed the way people think. All Nassim did was say, I trade option straddles for a living, and occasionally they make money. And so I'm going to write a book called The Black Swan about how sometimes my option straddles make money. Oh wow, that's so smart. Geez, man, who would have ever thought about that? Except every single hedge fund manager in the world for the past 40 years. So I don't know what the Saudis are up to, except that they're scared to death that the petrodollar is collapsing. So they're going to arrest people for saying anything. So they're saying, even if you ask what the weather's going to be like, we're going to arrest you, because we're so fragile, and we're so scared.
We're more fragile than Nassim Taleb.
Yeah, we're more fragile than Nassim Taleb over here in Riyadh. And, it wasn't enough that we strung up that rich guy and beat him to death and stole all of his money. We're going to go after anyone who predicts the weather. That's us here in Riyadh. That's the Saudi way. They're toast, man. Another 20 years, it's going to be back to, camels for them. They got nothing. Unless they buy Bitcoin, maybe they will. They can convert all that usage of energy into mining Bitcoin, as they're doing in Iran. Iran seems to really understand the situation a lot better than the Saudis or anybody else in the region. They could emerge as the superpower in the region,
hubris.
Which would make sense, because the Persian culture is superior to.
Okay.
Oh, never mind. I won't go down that path.
We were just mocking at the fact that there's thousands of years of drama over there.
Yeah, thousands of years of drama. Yeah.
Let's move on from that. But so somebody, Michael Phillips here, he says his dreams of being a Saudi weatherman are over.
Yep.
Yeah, we didn't mean to kill your dream, but it's it might not be so good for you. Somebody else who I just hid from this channel was asking about Ethereum, and that was the other interesting thing this past week is Carl Icahn. Everybody's like celebrates when the billionaires arrive, right? There's a certain sector of Bitcoin. There's a certain sector of all the shitcoins where they're like, hey, a billionaire has arrived. Yay. So Bitcoin has Paul Tudor Jones. It has Stan Druckenmiller. It has Michael Saylor. And think of the words they speak when they write about it and their reasons why. Now Carl Icahn is going along Ethereum.
Yeah.
Carl Icahn is he does hostile takeovers.
Yeah,
right?
no, I've known Carl Icahn his career for 40 years, because when I was on Wall Street starting in 1982, this was really the beginning of his career as a corporate raider, a green mailer, a friend of Michael Milken at Drexel Burnham Lambert, and his reputation is as a bottom feeder. So he's not a smart guy. He just has a lot of lawyers, and he goes after companies when he can sue them to death and steal everybody's money. That's Carl Icahn. So the fact that he's entering into the space now and avoiding the pure play, which is Bitcoin, and he's going after the shit around Bitcoin, that's bad for Ethereum, because it shows that it's attracting market manipulators, regulatory manipulators, and he's the guy who blew out a Hertz car company at the absolute worst time and let all the plebs make millions on it over there at Wall Street Bets. He didn't see that play coming. He lost an enormous amount of money last year, and I it's not the guy you want associated with your project. Ethereum wouldn't want Carl Icahn in the project because he's a known crook.
Yeah. Well, so he likes to control. He also likes to basically hollow out and destroy companies, right? So if there's you can't do that with Bitcoin, right? But with Ethereum or all the shit coins on top of Ethereum, like you could just rug pull all over the place there. So like that's easy to do in Ethereum, and it's easy to do a corporate raid of Ethereum and plunder all those the newbie dumb speculators hoping to pump and dump and join a pump and dump group and
Right.
things
It's
like
interesting
that.
that these egomaniacs like Carl Icahn and Elon Musk are into crypto because they saw that after it crossed $1 trillion threshold in market value. They're like, why am I playing around with Tesla and Hertz stock when I should be playing around with crypto? Because that seems to be the only thing CNBC is talking about these days is Bitcoin and crypto. So they're ignoring me, Carl Icahn, or me, Elon Musk. So I better get into this new thing, or Kim Kardashian or Paris Hilton, right? All these celebrities and celebrity CEOs and celebrity corporate raiders, moving into the hot new thing. It's ultimately draws money away from fiat, which will drive policymakers insane. It will be a staging ground for capital before it moves into Bitcoin. Everything ultimately will move into Bitcoin. Even Nassim Taleb will be buying Bitcoin at $500,000 a coin in an act of desperation to save himself. But so ultimately, though, it's not good for Ethereum, in my view.
In my view. Well, speaking of Max's view,
Yeah.
If you don't get the likes to 1,000,
Yeah.
he's gonna do that Jessica Vaughn pose
What?
right here and show you his ass.
No way.
If we get to 5,000 likes, I'll show you mine.
Jeez, that's incredible. Wow, things are really taking an interesting turn here on the Orange Pill podcast. Orange Pill Microdose. The last days of May as we head into June, the official summer season. We're heading to Miami. We got lots to do there. 2 days, 12,000 people showing up. Biggest Bitcoin event in history. Anybody who's watching this now, are they going to be in Miami? Do you know of any events that are going on?
I think half of these people. Wow, there's so many events going on. Speaking of events going on, like, did you know that there was a shitcoin 2021 happening at the same time?
Yeah,
like
down the road, right?
Yeah, and Tone Vase is speaking at it because he didn't get invited to speak at Bitcoin 2021, so he's going to go speak at shitcoin 2021.
Wow.
This is like that's when it's like totally official because when I was working in Hollywood, there was a Sundance Film Festival and it was like totally groovy and cool and fun. And like for about 5, 6, 7 years, it was just like younger people, the assistants in Hollywood and stuff like that went, and it was edgy young filmmakers. And then Quentin Tarantino and Sex, Lies, and Videotape. Those two happened like in the course of 1 or 2 years. And then everybody in the world, all these corporate sort of people all flooded into a Sundance Film Festival. And it became a zoo where it used to be like really fun and cool, like a high school sort of situation. It was just like small and, you hung out with friends. But then as soon as it became huge and corporate, Slam Dance happened, and now there's like 5 or 6 sort of breakaway events that happen around the bigger event.
Oh yeah. Sex, Lies, and Videotape. That's not a Quentin Tarantino film.
I said Quentin Tarantino happened and Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
Okay. So, I'm glad you clarified that. I'm glad that was been clarified. But yeah, so you got Shitcoin Festival down the street from Bitcoin 2021. And I'm sure if this keeps going by the next couple of years, there'll be dozens of these little events happening.
Well, Tone Vase right now is in Dubai. He's about to fly out and go to Miami. So he should be careful because, UAE follows a lot of the Saudi things. So his predictions about price movements and
Oh
stuff,
no.
he could end up in prison in Saudi Arabia for
Oh
10 years
no.
if he's predicting the climate of Bitcoin.
Uh-oh. Yeah, he better be careful.
What if that's like, that will be an interesting spin on, Bitcoin FUD. So you have the energy FUD, you have the China's banning FUD, all that kind of stuff. If Saudi Arabia starts imprisoning people who predict prices on
Yeah.
Bitcoin.
Yeah. Boy, that's interesting FUD right there. Where is he? Dubai?
Dubai. Yeah.
Oh, right.
He's been there for quite a while, but he's
We've been
fine.
there. It's a nice place.
Yeah, it's okay. I wouldn't want to live there. Like, there's a lot of people that live there, and I think it's like you have to do that exit visa. We were covering it during the 2008-2009 financial crisis, and there was a bunch of like a whole bunch of expats fled during the financial crisis, and they abandoned their cars at the airport because, like, you need an exit visa. So you had to pretend, like, all these people were pretending that they were just going on vacation, going home for Christmas or whatever. And you have to pay off all your debts. Like, you can't exit the country if you live there if you have any debts. So basically, there were thousands of cars abandoned at the airport. Like,
yeah, I remember that.
Brand new cars.
Wild.
Yeah.
Wild.
So, we don't have those days anymore because there's so much money to be printed and everybody loves it and everybody's happy. What's going on over in the live stream? So, Max, we haven't got to 1,000 thumbs up yet.
Okay.
You're going to have to do your Jessica Vaughn.
Uh-oh.
And now, actually, I like her. She's really cool. And hopefully we'll interview her at Bitcoin 2021. We'll get her on Orange Pill Podcast. If we get to 1,000 likes in the next 10 minutes, we'll get Jessica Vaughn on Orange Pill Podcast, okay? And so all you young guys out there can be super excited. Everybody who also wants to smash buy, what's the price? Tell me the price. I don't want to have to look it up.
I don't know.
Arthur Hayes.
Yeah.
I have this line that he wrote in his latest piece is that Bitcoin is the only working smoke alarm for the monetary inflation that is sure to come. So he wrote a great piece. Of course, he found it through Nick Carter, who's been on a roll lately. He was tweeting out, "You got to read this." And Arthur Hayes wrote this piece about why Bitcoin, like all these people being emotional, like Nassim Taleb with spinach hands, crying, like Dave Portnoy.
Yeah.
Why is Bitcoin only at 35,000? And well, he was Arthur Hayes was responding to that, and of course, like, Arthur he did run BitMEX, but he knows how to look at volume and all this shit. And he's like, who are these lunatics that are that don't understand what they're seeing? Like, this is not the end of the bull market. Like, but he talks about inflation and the predicament in which the fiat regimes are currently in, and how there's no way out, right? But more money printing.
Right.
They're talking a game right now. The Fed does this, and I don't know how markets react. Why they do it all the time. They always pretend like, oh my God, the Fed's going to tighten. Oh my God, this is horrible. And they're doing those reverse repos, and everybody's getting the hedge fund sort of guys who are now in Bitcoin and got panicked, and they're all like, Daddy's going to abandon us. So it's all FUD though. It's just part of the FUD. Everything's FUD, right?
The tightening cycle FUD has been with us for 25 years, where the central banks always threaten to tighten and unwind. And in aggregate, if you look at all the global central banks, they've done nothing but expand, with occasionally one of them might, tighten briefly. But in aggregate, they've only expanded. And it's kind of interesting, of course, they don't really ever talk about raising rates. They only talk about slowing their purchases. They only talk about slowing the money printing. They never actually talk about stopping the money printing or anything like that. So, but it always works because fear is incredibly powerful and markets are super leveraged. And when the central bank says, we're thinking about tightening, people will dump bonds, and they'll dump whatever. But it's as Arthur Hayes points out, it's a dead certainty that that's not going to be the case. The schedule, the amount of money printing now is going into hyperbolic, hyperinflationary times. That's where we're heading right now. So, and that's 100% guaranteed. There's absolutely nothing that would counter that argument at all.
The other interesting thing that he picked up on, but did not really expound on it, like he didn't go too deep into it, but he mentioned gold. And an interesting thing, Arthur Hayes mentioned a very interesting thing about gold, which he said that as of June 1st, that the Basel III changes come into the how the financial and monetary system operates, that there's new regulations whereby he said it would be more difficult, almost impossible, to suppress the price of gold going forward. So that could be interesting from June 1st. Apparently, according to Arthur Hayes, the Basel III requirements and I want to say accords, but like that, the regulations will change such that we could see gold fly. That's what he says.
Yeah. Well, gold's overdue for a big move. It's been building a base for quite some time. Silver as well. I did that interview with Danielle Cambone in January. My price targets for Bitcoin for 2021 were 220,000. For gold, it was 3,000, and for silver, it was 100. Right, because all these different macro considerations, and this news about Basel III kicking in on June 1st, as Arthur Hayes points out, it's a really good piece of data. As I understand it, right, they're reclassifying gold to, as it relates to being a reserve on the central bank's balance sheet, that would incentivize them to recognize gold and to buy more gold, and I guess also to recognize the gold as well, so that they want to make it appear as though they're carrying less debt, right? So a debt to equity ratio. And I think by reclassifying gold, they can say, oh, the debt's not as bad because we have all this gold, that type of thing. And but it'll jumpstart the gold rally, no doubt. And gold has already hit new highs in all currencies around the world within the last year, including the US dollar. And silver, if it gets over $30, I think it's going to go over $60 pretty easily. And it's going to head up to that $100 level because copper and lumber, commodities, oil, they're all skyrocketing because the dollar purchasing power of the dollar is collapsing. Silver is incredibly manipulated by the central planners, and if you take the collar off and let it run, it's going to follow these other commodities to much higher prices. If in fact there's a huge demand for renewable energy, and that's solar, of course, that's uses silver. So there's actually an industrial demand for silver. So as I said in January, those three, Bitcoin, gold, and silver, would all benefit from this macro shift that we're seeing.
Speaking of solar, we are sponsored by thesunexchange.com/orange pill, where you can monetize sunshine, right? You buy some solar cells, $10 each, $5 each, it depends on the project, and it gives you revenue stream for 20 years, which you can choose to collect either in Rand, the South African Rand, or in sats. So that's thesunexchange.com/orange pill. And speaking of Nassim Taleb, our other sponsor is swanbitcoin.com/orange pill.
Yep.
And named because Corey Clipston is a big fan of The Black Swan, Nassim Taleb's book, but had a falling out now on Twitter telling him that was enough is enough. And, but the swan is anti-fragile.
We're rebranding the swan. The swan is being rebranded by Swan Bitcoin. and it's no longer associated with Nassim, the scoundrel Taleb. It's now all about swanbitcoin.com/orange pill. Register now, get $10 free of Bitcoin. Take that first step on the journey toward sovereign individuality and separate your property from the state in a way that's unconfiscatable, and then laugh at the state. Ha 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 ha. Poor state is broke.
Yeah, let them be broke. Let them be broke.
Let them eat shit.
Let them eat brioche, right? You know, but talking of gold and these Basel III, somebody was like spelling it Bazzle, but it's Basel. So it's like it's named after the city, the canton in Switzerland.
Yes.
Basel.
Yes.
Basel III. But in the U.S., you know, the debt is becoming an issue, a political issue domestically, and also, I guess, internationally, obviously, as many investors, overseas investors, as Arthur Hayes' article points out, is they're no longer buying the new Treasury issuance, which is funding all these stimulus programs that are going on and the infrastructure projects, everything. So the Fed is buying the majority, over 50% of those. But the foreigners are buying equities because they're afraid of inflation and the U.S. printing all that money. And what I'm thinking is that, as you said, the revaluation of gold is the U.S. theoretically, or at least on paper, owns 8,000 tons of gold. But in terms of our national debt, they only say it's on the accounts at $35 an ounce still. So if gold were to go to 3,000 and then they revalued the 8,000 tons at 3,000, like the debt would then reduce theoretically.
Yeah, that's the big reset. That's what they have to do. That's what they did with the post-war World War II sit down. And that's
Bretton
Woods, and that's what they'll do now. They're going to reset the global currency grid against gold, of course, and that's exactly what will happen. They need to do this. That's what they're going to do, and gold and silver are going to benefit. But Bitcoin is, as Paul Tudor Jones has said, the fastest horse in the race. So it has tremendous upside from here. I agree.
Somebody's talking about the string vest theory.
String vest?
Vest, V as in Victor, EST. String vest theory.
Oh, okay.
Stacy's hair today is a Grateful Dead bear. Oh, Generation X. Okay. So yeah, the last microdose, I did say I was transitioning to boomer. I did not foresee the absolute grief that this would cause in the Gen X community, who felt it was just like an abandonment too far. Like, we've been abandoned by history and media. Like, everybody's forgotten our achievements, i.e., namely Kurt Cobain and Mike Judge. But, I'm detransitioning. Okay. Oh. I have to go back to my Gen X because I was not prepared for how much grief it would cause, like so much pain. And I've decided I have to go back to my people.
No, fine. That's great. I'm happy for you and your people.
So I'm back with Gen X. Okay.
Oh, that's great.
It was just like speaking of triggered, like
yeah.
See, but I'm not filled with hubris. It triggered some emotions on the part of people I really like. So I decided I will have to go back to being a Gen X. So I hope you welcome me back with open arms and don't treat me as a traitor.
No. They're happy. The Gen Xers are happy to have Stacy back in the Gen X fold.
Oh yeah. People are happy.
The people are happy.
Did you tell me the price of Bitcoin yet? Like, where is it? Maybe it just flew by.
I heard it was over 1,000. Which is the last I checked.
Well, people are asking, like, Max, you said it was going to hit a new all-time high by June 4th.
Well, it's not June 4th, is it? I still think it could hit a new all-time high by June 4th. It just has to double, basically. And it's doubled many times in the past. It's doubled
Oh yeah,
in the course,
2017 was pretty crazy.
right, in the course of a few days, it could easily go to 70,000 in the next 4 days. That's just the way it is, folks. It could do it. I think it will do it. I mean, it's ultimately gone 500,000 to 1,000,000 a coin. So what do you care what the price is today when you know for a fact that's where it's headed in the next few years? So what difference does it make? Only shitcoiners can, whenever we have these pullbacks, the shitcoiners puke. Like they realize that they've wasted their lives. The Bitcoiners are like, yeah, whatever. I'll stack some sats at a cheaper price. I got my dollar cost averaging at Swan. I don't care. But if you're in a shitcoin and you're like, wait a minute, I actually don't know why Ethereum exists. I actually don't know why XRP exists or Cardano or any of these other coins. I have no idea why I got into it. I don't know who's involved. I don't know what it does. I don't know what the purpose of it. Right. So it's scary because you got sucked into a scam. And so you typically would puke it out at the bottom. And now you got a big fat loss. And now, welcome to hell. Bitcoiners, on the other hand, are like, whatever. This is the 15th time in 11 years. It's been correcting a little bit. I buy more. That's Bitcoin life. That's the orange pill life. That's what it is, folks. That's all it is.
Somebody's asking if we're allowed to smoke reefer on this show. I mean, you're not allowed to. We're in North Carolina at the moment, so you can't.
I have a THC suppository, which you're allowed on the show.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Delta 8 suppository.
A Delta 8 suppository, those are allowed on the show.
Remember, if you eat edibles, if you take an edible, the thing is they should warn you on the cover. The edibles take like 2 hours to have an effect. So
yeah, they have to work their way down to the large intestine, I guess.
I guess so, because but don't be like me where like after half an hour you're like, I don't feel anything.
Why wait 2 hours for it to get to your large intestine when you can put it directly into your large intestine through a suppository?
Yeah.
Okay, it's efficiency. That's what we're about, efficiency. Suppositories are more efficient than edibles. Okay, that's the fact.
You're so French.
Oui, je suis français. Okay. Yeah, everything in France is a suppository. They love those. Taking half or the drugs or more, they take them via their anus. For whatever reason. I think they're just, they have a fixation on colons.
Can you hear Max?
No.
He's mumbling now under like as he talks
How's
about
that?
colons.
How's that better?
We still have 100 and
Hi, how's it going?
We still have 135 likes to get to. Otherwise, Max is going to show you his ass.
Really?
So if we don't do 135 more, you guys are going to have to see male butt.
Did you see? Remember that fad of coffee enema? People were taking enema of coffee as a cleanse.
I think they still do that. Somebody smoked. You don't smoke edibles. That's like
no, that doesn't make any sense, dude.
Baguette suppositories.
The baguette suppository. That's in the Marais. You find that type of thing in Paris. Yeah,
they do a lot of interesting things in Paris. So 36,000. We're over 36,100 is what people are telling me. The Mayans would drink alcohol anally. Didn't you guys do that on Wall Street in the 80s too? Like cocaine?
Not voluntarily.
No, cocaine or anally.
Remember the legend of who's that lead singer from Fleetwood Mac? She used to have cocaine blown up her ass backstage.
No way.
Yeah, that because her septum was blown out.
Oh my God!
So some roadie.
His
job was to blow cocaine up this chick's ass. What was her name again? She's the lead singer for Fleetwood Mac. I can't remember. But yeah, great voice. For sure. That was I read that in Cream magazine. What's her name? It was Turning 17. That's a hot song. Digga 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 digga. Oh
my God. Why can't you remember anything? Have you remembered her name yet?
I have the record. We have the record over
Why
there.
can't you remember Stevie Nicks' name?
Stevie Nicks, yeah. Stevie Nicks, yeah. That's it.
But it's just like Max forgets every name every
Well, it
week.
shows you the power of suppository. I mean, she wasn't, because she realized that, the most effective, the maximum efficacy for cocaine imbibing would be through the anus, like a one of those poison dart guns you see in the jungles. Those guys who can shoot a monkey at 500 feet using a poison dart tube. Not a gun; it's a dart tube.
Blow gun.
Blow gun. Thank you. They have the blow gun. And the monkey's like, and the next thing they show them, they're cutting the monkey's skull and they're eating the monkey brains. Well, that's like Chrissy Hynde. Not Chrissy Hynde. Stevie Nicks, right? So there she is, like a blowgun backstage, getting a bumpy from some roadie. Okay, that's it. That's rock and roll. That's all it is.
Yeah, but I wonder, like, now with this whole social justice warrior sort of like outrage about everything thing, I think of that because, Scott Rudin, who is this, big Hollywood producer, also Broadway producer. So when I was working in Hollywood in the early 90s, and I was an assistant to a normal movie, relatively normal. The books were written about him that sound like what Stevie Nicks was doing. But the fact is, like, that was kind of like the vibe, right? Like you're just like Rolling Stone magazine from the 70s and stuff, like rock and roll is rock and roll and it's freaking crazy, right? And weird shit happens. And
sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Yeah,
but drugs refers to illicit drugs. Doesn't refer to aspirin.
And sex, like all of those. Remember in the 70s, all of those groupies that would.
Well, you had the sexual revolution in the late 60s.
Yeah, but then it turns
70s.
out like a lot of these girls showing up were like 15 or 16, and then people complain 30, 40 years later.
How come? We talked about this last year. It's interesting. So during the whole Me Too movement, you had a lot of actors and politicians were caught up in the Me Too movement, but no, really, that I'm aware of any rock stars, even though we know that backstage they're the groupies and they are underage. And yet, to my knowledge, not a single case of the Me Too movement crossed over into the rock scene. Why do you think that is?
I'll tell you why. Because rock and roll is everywhere, and all young teenage girls and young 20s all go there to sleep with a guy, right? And they're rock stars. They're hot. They have no shirt on stage. They've got ripped abs. You go to Hollywood. Hollywood is filled with ugly guys,
like
right?
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, all these ugly guys are producers. They're fat. They're gross. They're powerful. And women feel obliged for the casting couch to sleep with them in order to get ahead.
Right.
And then once this movement hits, then 20 years later, I had to sleep with that fat fuck,
right.
And to get a job.
Right.
Nobody's going to say that like, oh my God, I had to sleep with Mick Jagger or David Bowie. They're going to be like, they're not going to complain about that, even if they were only 15 or 16.
Right. So it's the difference between a good lay and a bad lay.
Yes.
So the Me Too movement is about, I got laid poorly by Harvey Weinstein, so he's going to go to jail and rot. But Mick Jagger turned me out, and I'm fucking the woman I am today because of it, so I'm going to leave him alone.
Well, Harvey's an exception because he was a rapist. But there were a lot of other guys who were just groping. Now, the Scott Rudin guy, a friend of mine was one of his assistants.
Yeah.
And, I remember so clearly going to meet this friend for lunch, drinks, things like that. And he'd be like, oh, yeah, Scott just threw a phone at me. And it wasn't like, oh my God, this is trauma. I can't deal with this. It was just like, oh my, we'd be laughing our ass off and just like, what a nightmare. Like, the guy's a freak.
Right. So to get to your point, so in Hollywood, they're acting as gatekeepers, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't go into this industry. You have to go through me first. And whereas on the rock and roll scene, they're going to be the rock. They're going to be out there rocking it with or without the groupies, right?
Yes.
There's no need. The groupies are like,
yes.
they're throwing themselves at the rock stars voluntarily. That's what they want to do. And it's there's no quid pro quo in terms of, hey, you get to then move ahead in this Hollywood scene where you have to, it's not a gatekeeper. I think that's what we're saying.
We're saying that. We're also saying that that was part of like what you expected, and it was part of like the joy of being like you expected the producer to throw phones at you and stuff like that. That was like part of the like the wackiness like of being in Hollywood, right? You expected like insane stories. Like this is like that series Entourage. Like you expected insane agents. Like you expected them to be like that.
Right. Or that movie Swimming with Sharks.
Yeah, that was one of Scott Rudin's assistants, I believe.
Right. It's modeled on this guy.
Yeah. So, like this was just like normal, and you kind of expected it. Sometimes there was an assistant. Like my office was right across from William Morris Agency.
Yeah.
And there was an assistant at William Morris who, you start in the mailroom, then you move up to an assistant to one of the agents, and the bigger ones will have like 2 or 3 assistants, and you might be like the junior of the 3 assistants. And then you move up through the assistants, and then you become a junior agent, and then you become an agent. But if you could make it out of the mailroom, and this one guy who was, like 20 years old, I was about the same age working across the street. Famously, he just got sick of it. The mailroom kids, they had to run around town dropping off scripts to Tom Cruise and all these John Travolta and all these people, Brad Pitt. And it sounds glamorous, but your boss is like, where the fuck are you? Did you fucking drop that script out to fucking Tom Cruise? He's fucking calling me. Why didn't you fucking do this? And so this kid took his boxes of scripts and threw them over Mulholland Drive and just drove away. It was just like...
And that kid's name? David Lynch.
No, but it was just like, you understand it. But that was the part of the whole game. Like you were in a freak world, right? It's like Hollywood.
Yeah.
And you expected freakery. Like you didn't go there for like some normal like accounting job that it was like everything is like normal and it's all just like calm. Like no, you expect like crazy deranged producers and agents throwing stuff and like having fits and mental issues.
We became all corporate.
Now that everybody wants them to be like really polite and not not call you a fucking
and
piece
you get
of shit.
You get sued all the time, right? And because they have all these
you can't
rules and regs for
it's like the Marines, like the U.S. Marines are also have to do the same thing where they're not allowed to call like the grunts, you piece of shit, pick up that they have to be polite now to them.
Right. Yeah, so the culture totally same thing on Wall Street to some degree. So that's the independent producer type has been weaned out by the collectivists. As America becomes socialist now, then the collective is served in a Maoist type of let's worship mangoes. We're losing the moxie, gumption, the can do. Remember, it's American, not Americant.
Exactly. So Max, we hit 1,000. You're not going to have to show your butt.
Oh, thank you.
If we get to 5,000, I'll show mine. But obviously we're not going to get there because I'll hang up before I'll shut this live stream before that. But
only I will see.
I also like the thing about where I worked in Hollywood is that we were on El Camino Drive.
Yeah.
And there was this like really 70s building. And it was owned by this property development family, and that was their father's first building he ever bought.
Yeah.
So while everything around Beverly Hills like was all chic and like 7-8 stories and stuff like that, this one was only 2 stories, and it was just like same 70s fashion.
Yeah. You see that in LA.
Yeah, but it was just like they didn't want to touch it because they wanted to honor, like they wanted to preserve it as it was when their father owned it.
Yeah.
And Swifty Lazar was in the office right next to us. So he was like obviously the Swifty Lazar's Oscar party. He was like Marlon Brando's agent. He was Marlena Dietrich, like Marilyn Monroe, like everybody's agent all the way up until when in the 90s, and then he passed away. And the other guy in the other direction was Walter Shenson, who produced all the Beatles movies. Oh yeah. So he would always drive me. We would go to lunch often. He was like 80 something,
Yeah.
or maybe late 70s, and he would he had this sky blue Rolls Royce, and we would drive around.
Yeah. Talking about Rolls Royce, my most interesting Hollywood sighting for me was I was in the car, stop sign, stoplight, look over there, and in this big Rolls Royce was Jack Lemmon.
Mm.
So that
Yeah.
was like the most old Hollywood star sighting I had seen when I was there.
Well, those were way more exciting. Like, I mean, like all my friends were working for those producers like Scott Rudin, who were younger at that time, and they were throwing the phones.
Yeah.
But Swifty Lazar and Walter Shenson saw it. Like when I walked, I would walk. I didn't have to, but I walked Swifty Lazar a few times to go out on a walk. He was so old, like he needed help.
Yeah.
And like all the young assistants at William Morris, like I was friends with half of them, and they would be like, "Oh my God, you're walking, that's Swifty fucking Lazar." I was like, yeah, he needs his diaper changed, but
great character with those huge glasses, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a legendary.
He was like,
agent.
Yeah, he was legendary. But I was like 19 or 20, and there was like a big event. So his wife had just died, right? So she was quite younger than he was, but she died like rapidly of some cancer. But he was next door, and his assistant Cindy was like, "Oh, I was in their office, and he's like, he needs somebody to go to this event with him tonight." And it was like Warren Beatty and all these people, and I was like,
right.
"I'll go." And he's like, "Kid, I can't show up with a 19-year-old on my arm. I'm not going." He's like 85. I was like, damn, I wanted to, like, it was like good. Jack Nicholson, Warren Beatty and stuff. I was like, oh yeah, I want to go.
Where is Jack Nicholson? Yeah, I don't think, I think he was at the Lakers game recently.
No, that was Larry David.
Oh, that was Larry David? No, yeah. Larry David was at a Knicks game.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. I see. Well, no, I don't want. I was going to talk about hockey, but I'll pass.
Damn, Stacy been balling for a minute. What's that mean?
I think it means like, you're a big shot type of thing. Balling is like.
Oh, because I walked with Swifty Lazar.
Like you're,
Somebody says, I saw Wilford Brimley with a lady half his age.
Oh boy, where was that? In Boise, Idaho. Wilford Brimley. Wow.
I saw Bob Carroll Guess in Mansfield.
Oh yeah.
Who's Bob Carroll Guess?
That he played the second lead to Bill Macy in the I Dream of Jeannie remake that was done in Bosnia.
Shut up. Adam Sandler been balling too.
Adam Sandler, sure. Yeah, he's a funny guy.
I saw Larry David at a restaurant last week.
Oh, when I was a kid, I was in New York City with my parents, and we went to this restaurant, the Russian Tea Room. And right standing there was Woody Allen and Dick Cavett.
Dick Cavett. He's a Montauk guy.
Yeah.
His house was out there right near my uncle's. Of course, my uncle's house is like this big, and Dick Cavett's is like huge. He had that, like, who knew he was like so wealthy? Like he had this massive, like right at the very end of Montauk.
Yeah, a huge house. Yeah, big. Because that the TV show makes a lot of money there, the Dick Cavett show.
Yeah.
He's those are profitable enterprises. The Dick Cavett show.
That's a secret. It tells you a lot, though. It's finally starting to change, whether you're Montauk or the Hamptons.
Plus, property back then when he bought it, was a lot cheaper, obviously, especially out in Montauk.
Yeah. My uncle bought a place. It was like $17,000.
He paid $12,000 for a house in Montauk, which is now worth over $1 million.
Yeah. And it's tiny.
Yeah.
But it's right on the beach.
It's right on the beach. Yeah.
So,
right on Ditch Plains.
Yeah.
That's the best place to go.
That's the place.
And that's the best place to be in Ditch Plains, because you're on the beach and you wake up, you're on the beach. Because just getting to Ditch Plains in and out of the parking lot and everything is a hassle. But if you're in one of those houses right on the beach near Ditch Plains in Montauk, It's a nice beach to go to, and the surfers are there, and the ditch witch is there, and you can get your coffee
Good
and
coffee.
you know, whatever, bagel or a donut or something.
But
Yeah, it's really
this
enjoyable.
year is not possible because of all the fucking COVID
It's
stuff and
gone.
all these people moving
Yeah.
out there, and just like, so all the people from the Hamptons are being pushed out to Montauk, and everybody in Montauk hates them because all of Montauk is like they're fishermen and just really humble. Like
Yeah.
if they have immense wealth, like DeCavett, like Andy Warhol, who lived out there, like
Right.
they're more like humble about it, whereas in the Hamptons, they all drive Lambos that they actually paid for and have
Right.
plastic surgery and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, it's gone the way of the Hamptons.
You know who just moved to the ditch is a great actor, but dumb politics now. But
Pee Wee Herman.
Robert De Niro, he sold his place in Hidden Hills and moved to the ditch.
Right. Okay.
The ditch is the place to go surfing, okay?
Yeah,
That's the thing.
surfing.
Surfers keep you humble. And that's the important thing to remember is like
Yeah,
wherever
yeah.
you go, surfing communities, like remember when we were in Portugal?
Yeah.
We arrived in the surfing community, right away you feel like you're in Montauk. You
Very
feel
nice.
like
People are chilled.
good food, good coffee. They always have good coffee.
Yeah.
And always have good coffee really early.
Yeah.
Even up in northern Malibu part, like the coffee shops there open at 4 a.m.
Right. Even the
Starbucks.
Starbucks is open. Yeah.
Yeah. So they wake up because they get out there for the first surf, and
Yeah.
it's always like our sort of lifestyle. Like,
Yeah. The Portuguese surfer community, it's very nice, and that they have those incredible surf.
they're
waves.
insane in Portugal. Those
Yeah.
are like the hugest waves ever.
Well, one place we've never been yet is Hawaii.
Yeah, we have some friends there that I promise we're gonna go visit.
We got to
them.
go Tokyo and then Hawaii. You know.
Yep.
It's just we've been so many places, but never Tokyo, never Hawaii. We got to do it. Maybe this year.
Maybe this year. All right. Well, we'll give another few minutes, like 2 or 3 minutes. If you have any comments or questions or whatever, leave them in the comments and I'll go look at them now. How do you prefer the orange with green text or the green background with orange text? Let me see what you think. Like, I like the thing about the green highlight with the orange text is it kind of reminds me of Johnny Rotten or like the Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
There's a Sex Pistols sort of vibe to it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
So, but we are orange pill, but
Yeah.
But I do like the whole Sex Pistols vibe to it.
Yeah. You need that Sex Pistol vibe.
Stay with us in Kauai. I do want to go to well, if travel ever opens again, like international travel. I mean, I know Hawaii is domestic, but the thing is, like, if we're gonna go to Hawaii,
Yeah.
like, I also want to go to Japan. Like, I don't want to go all that distance and not also go the few extra hours to go to Japan. So
Does anyone remember Don Ho? Okay, Don Ho.
I do.
Ukulele playing Hawaiian celebrity musician. He was big news back in the 60s and 70s in America when Hawaii was even more exotic than it is these days. And he's a big guest star on shows like The Love Boat or
Gavin McLeod just died
Hawaii Five-0.
yesterday.
What?
Yeah.
The captain
Yes.
is dead?
Yes. Like, he was 90. But I thought he was like 90 back then. Like, that was in the 70s. Like, how old was the guy in the 70s?
Jesus, man. Mary Tyler Moore and now Gavin McLeod?
Yep.
Oh, my God. The 70s are dead. It's all over.
It's all over.
Love Boat finished. Where's Charo? Remember Charo?
Charo. Oh, yeah. She was always on.
Yeah, Charo was great. Zsa Zsa Gabor. Lots of fun. Paul Lynde. The center square of Hollywood Squares. That's good entertainment, You just come home after school watching Hollywood Squares. Paul Lynde, one of the most campy guys on TV before
Great.
there was a drag show. What? Somebody just died?
No, there's no answers for me. Like half the people say they prefer the orange highlight.
Yeah.
The other half say they prefer the green highlight.
It's a split vote.
It's a split vote.
Wow. Well, you've done a good job then. You've done well. Very nice.
I'm just like when we were talking about the 70s and all these old people, it just made me think of Joe Biden and his face is like he's always pulling these like squinty-eyed faces and like trying to see through his coal-eyed dementia.
Yeah, I haven't seen him at all since last November or heard anything. I don't follow that stuff. It's not have anything to do with Bitcoin, so I don't really follow it.
Well, I do because he's like $6 trillion. Money printer go brr, money printer go brr. Because when we first did the money printer go brr, that was just credit, right? That was from the QE, from the Fed. But now it's just like actual cash being thrown out all over the place. So he's printing more. I don't know if he knows what the hell he's doing, but who knows? Like, who knows what's going on?
They have no choice. They have to flood with more money. The Arthur Hayes piece is very good.
Read it.
Go read it. Go look at it. It's the best piece of the week. He writes really well, and he really knows the banking industry well. And it's a really good piece, Arthur Hayes. And
that's it.
It gives you really good insight. And you could read that piece and not watch this podcast. And you'd save yourself an hour and a half. Just read that piece. Don't bother watching this. Who cares about Paul Lind? Who cares about the old skipper of the Love Boat or Zsa Zsa Gabor or Charo? These people are dead. Who cares? They're old celebrities from decades ago. Just read Arthur Hayes' piece and save yourself some time. That's what I'm saying. That's my advice.
Well, with that, it was really fun chatting to you, and we'll next time come to you from Miami.
What did Charles used to always say? Chuka chuka, cha cha, Gucci Gucci. What's it? Charles, she used to always say that. Uchi uchi. Something, I forget. The whole dance. She did this little dance.
Uchi.
Yeah, what did Charles do? See how little dance she did.
Oh my God. Well, we're gonna go out with some diamond hands. Have your diamond hands. I just ate a charo. Diamond hands.
Dring, dring.
Charo, uchi, uchi.